Good morning. Good morning. Hi. Thanks for joining once again. We're doing another live stream. I'm in the mood for it, and yeah, we're gonna do some coding today. Well, actually, we're gonna have a discussion as well because there are a couple of decisions to make here for Tempest, and yeah, I would like to get some input. Basically, first things first, though, a couple of nice things here. We've reached almost 200 stars, which is pretty nice, and Tempest has been on the on GitHub trending. It means basically nothing, but people are checking it out, which I really appreciate. We got a couple of pull requests as well. Let's take a look here. 20 already. That well, two were closed, but like people are contributing. That's seriously cool. I really appreciate that. There are still some issues that are good first issues if you want to check it out, if you want to like contribute a little bit, but you don't really want to dive too deeply into framework code. It can get complex. Well, there are some good first issues there, so definitely check those out if you want to. It's been a couple of fun days, right? I've done a stream for every day, Monday, Tuesday, and today, maybe tomorrow and Friday as well. Um, and we're just making progress. It's so cool to see everything coming together. It's also pretty interesting to realize how much work there is still to be done for this to be actually a usable framework, right? But it's a cool project. I really like working on it. Yesterday we worked on package discovery, stuff like that, kernel code. Pretty complex. You watched me struggle for half an hour only to realize that I forgot to import a namespace. So, or to define a namespace. Yeah, that was interesting. But it was a good time, and we learned from it, and that's the most important thing, right? Oh, 201 stars. Look at that. Very nice, very nice. I don't know if that was any one of you, but thank you very much. Appreciate it. Um, let's take a look at the comments here before diving in what we're doing today. Tiago, good morning. Tresor, good morning. Difficult names once again. Abdel Kader, I don't know. Good morning, good morning. Oh, Laravel, you're back. Hello, Laravel. um, he's here to genuinely see me struggle. I appreciate that. We're gonna dive into a database abstraction layer and migrations today, so there will be some struggle, quite a lot probably. Good afternoon, as Rohrbeck. I'm so sorry for the names, folks. And good morning from Rhino Drummer, I guess. Appreciate you being here. Um, yeah, let's talk about something, right? So I started working on Tempest and just writing code. It was fun, explore some problem spaces, and I had a good time. Also did some streams half a year ago about it, like laying the foundations. And I very much like applied this just go for it mentality. You know, code it, write a couple tests, just quick and dirty in some places, but just get it working. You know, I really believe that it's more important to figure out like how the API, the public API for users of the framework will be, because that's the most important part, right? The internal workings, people don't really care about it. It should be maintainable and you know, it should make sense, but that public API is the most important part, and that's what I focused on the most. So, you know, behind the scenes, some things were quick and dirty, but that was super fine. Um, However, we're coming to a point where we need to consider like how much work we're doing if we're writing everything ourselves. Like for example, database abstraction layer and our migrations implementation. Let me show you some code here. So there's this class here, query, and it wraps PDO. It gets PDO. It uses service location. If you've been following me for a long time, you know I don't like service location. In this case, I I made an exception because of convenience for the end user, right? We still might like change things up here, but interaction with the database, we're just using PDO, and that's fine for now, I guess. There's like let's take a look here. I've got two drivers for SQLite and MySQL. So those are two databases we support, and these drivers are referenced in config files, right? So this is how you connect to a database. You'd replace this with environment variables in real applications, of course. So we need to support more databases, right? We need to, I think, at least support Postgres, and there was another one, I can't remember it. Most of this is handled by PDO, which is fine, but it still requires us to write pretty boring code here and make sure everything works. The most difficult part actually isn't implemented yet, and that's the differences in syntax between different databases. Some stuff in SQLite isn't available. Well, I should say it the other way around. Some stuff in MySQL isn't available in SQLite, right? And you need to, ideally, you want a framework to handle that for you and have your users not worry about those differences. That's kind of the point of having a DBAL and database abstraction layer. It abstracts away like all those details. Do we want to write that ourselves? Because that's quite a difficult task to complete. For example, I have my migrations here, which is, if we're talking about like using a database in a framework, migrations are probably the starting point. So let's take a look. I have a couple of examples here. This is something I don't like the syntax anymore. I really don't, and we need to improve it. But like, for example, also, I call these rows, these aren't rows, these are data types. I don't know why I call them row, because it makes no sense at all. These should be data types. There aren't even rows. If anything, they are columns. But so this is how you build a new table, right? So you get a table builder. It has some methods. You can add rows. They aren't rows. Data types to them. Columns, actually. You can add columns with a data type. And yeah, that basically generates your database. Let me actually show an example here. So this one, oh, okay, it's not empty. So let's remove like all tables, and let's run Tempest migrate, and it will run my migrations here. First, it will create a migrations table, because that we need that to keep track of which migrations have already run. So just ID and name, and then it creates like these two tables, author and book, right? This is just my test setup. So yeah, you can see how this maps, right? Create a book table, ID, text, title, which is text, author, which is an integer. That's these columns here. This syntax, it really sucks. It's so unintuitive. I don't know why I wrote it this way. Probably because I wanted to mimic Laravel, but Laravel is just way better than what I came up with. So yeah, we need to explore two problems here. First of all, like, which DBAL do we want to use? Do we build it all ourselves or not? And secondly, these migrations, and how are we gonna shape them so that they are actually, yeah, fun to use, basically. That's one of the core principles of Tempest. I want you to be able to write classes and just, go with the flow. It should feel intuitive. It should feel like what you want to write. We won't be able to do that in every case, and there will be a learning curve, just like with any framework. But it really should feel the most natural as possible. So what do we do here, right? What is a migration? A migration is a script that's run once, right, to create or alter a table. That's a database table. That's basically its goal. And it also has functionality to roll itself back. So whatever changes it made, it should also be able to roll that back or not. It's not required to implement this down method. It's something that happens in Laravel quite often, that people just ignore this down method. So someone actually made a stub in Laravel once, and it generated the down method. Just said, "I'm gonna let you down." Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there's a problem we want to solve, right? We want a class that defines the structure of a database table, and it knows how to roll itself back. That's a secondary goal. So how do we do that? So this is my first idea, right? Build a table builder, right? A class that knows how to create SQL from a PHP interface. Like, it's in between PHP. It makes a translation between PHP code, which is more convenient, maybe, I don't know. Converts it to SQL, and that SQL is executed on the database, right? So something I generally wonder about, like all of this, what if we just remove it? What if we just return SQL here? I mean, create table, books, what is it? ID unsigned, integer, not null probably, name, what is it? Text, not null. Is this really that worse compared to what we had here? Like, it's even shorter, right? Let me put both of them here. What's better? I really so I don't know. Okay, so a couple of advantages here is that you don't need to learn another syntax, right? You don't need to learn SQL. You don't need to learn this create table syntax. I had to look it up before the stream started, how to create a table, because we don't know, right? People don't know. We've been using frameworks for decades now, and these frameworks have handled this for us. But is this so much worse than this? I know someone who would probably say no. That's Aaron Francis. He's doing a lot of SQL work, and actually, let me make a screenshot here. Let's ask Aaron. He's asleep, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Aaron Francis. I don't know his Twitter handle. Hang on. Aaron. That was the right handle, right? Which is better? You can tell me as well in chat, which one do you like the most? I don't know. Well, yeah, I'm actually leaning towards this syntax, actually. So yeah, it would make a lot of things super simple, because like we don't need all of this. We just don't need it. Like this builder class, it's simple now because it's just hard coded table builder, because it doesn't take different grammars into account, like the differences between MySQL and SQLite and Postgres. It just ignores those. And it just builds a query, basically. It's string manipulation. Do we really need that? Do we? And I'm thinking no. I'm thinking the answer is no. And I'm thinking, especially for a version 1 release, why don't we just stick with this? I think it would be so much better. So yeah, okay, that's one consideration. The other consideration, By the way, if you have any thoughts about it, just leave a comment in the chat, or leave a comment down below if you're watching this video after the stream has ended, because I'm not gonna make a decision about it right now, but I really do. I need to think about it, and I want I want some input here. So yeah, okay. By the way, another thing about like migrations, there's this get name. A migration needs a unique identifier somehow, because you want to know whether a migration has already run or not. That's why this table is here, right? Maybe we can determine that name. I like what Laravel does here. It makes its migrations like it has the unique identifier as the file name, and then it returns a new class which implements migration. Return. Basically, this is what Laravel does, and so you could get rid of get name, right? And maybe that makes more sense. But you're diverging from like autoloader standards. I don't know if that's such a big issue or not. It's another consideration. Let's check my comments here before I continue. Oh, Samuel also said good morning. Good morning, Samuel. I'm sorry for answering late. What's the philosophy behind this framework? I think you want to ask. It's the framework that gets out of your way. Check out yesterday's stream on especially like the last 10 or 15 minutes, where we actually solved all of our issues, and we made a third-party package, and it was so easy to do all of that. It was just, zero config, just install the dependency and you're done. It was super nice. I truly enjoyed how everything came together, and that's the key philosophy of Tempest. It gets out of your way. By default, there are no config files. By default, Tempest will find code for you and look at your code and determine what that code should do, instead of having to define like routes in config files, or instead of configuring console commands. It sees your code and it knows what to do. That's basically the biggest design principle of Tempest. So yeah, freedom framework. That's a good way of putting it. So back to my migration thing here. Doctrine also uses SQL migration. Let's actually check that out. Doctrine migrations. How does Doctrine does it? The docs of Doctrine. Migration classes. Up. The thing why I'm hesitant, by the way, of just including Doctrine is because there's so much there. Okay, so yeah, by the way, Doctrine uses DQL, which is its own language similar to SQL, and it's then transformed into... Oh, I'm not showing my screen. Hang on. It's not showing my... It's a custom syntax. Sorry, Braveheart. So managing migrations. Let's take a look here. Yeah, you just use it as SQL or DQL. Doesn't matter. Here's one downside of using raw SQL, but this is not true, by the way. Unless, I mean, if you're using an IDE, there's proper auto-completion here. You even have, I don't know if I've set it up here, but let's say alter table books. Let's say it already exists, right? Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't know. There's a way for PHP Storm to actually have auto-completion here. Let's check if I like create a new query here. And let's say alter table, author. Oh, it's the wrong table name. I don't know the alter table syntax. Hang on. Alter table. Okay, let's say, no, I want to change a column. Okay, let's say drop column. Oh yeah, and here we have our auto completion, and let's actually check it. Alter table book drop column. Yeah. Okay, so you see there is auto completion here. That's not really an issue if you're using the proper tools, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. Returning a query will surely open to a wider DB. What does DBMS mean? DBMS? Database management. Okay. Different service, you mean, right? Okay. Let's take a look here. Yeah, there is auto completion, as I've shown. Personally, you would go with raw SQL, just like doctrine migrations. In the end, a migration is about applying some SQL directives, right? So you should be able to see exactly. Oh, actually, doctrine migrations use SQL, not DQL. Translation part is done before when you execute diff command. Schema difference. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So migrations, they are SQL. Makes sense. Okay, so I think there is some consensus here, right? That this makes a lot more sense. And that means that I can remove yeah, I can remove my table builder here. It's something that I'm not going to do that on stream because there will be a lot of implications, and I still need to talk about other things. How about we use SQL instead of table builder C stream, just so that I remember. I think this is good. This is good. I like that. Yeah. Appreciate your input, folks. That's super helpful. Okay, the second point we were talking about was the DBAL itself, right? The database abstraction layer. Yeah, do we want to build that ourselves? Let's actually check here in the framework. Database. So these are my rows that should be data types, which we wouldn't need anymore because we're writing SQL. So everything here would be gone. Okay, builder is gone. Drivers can be are covered by a database abstraction layer as well. And migrations, there's nothing there. Okay, so let's say, okay, I consider doctrine, but it feels like super large for what we want to do. So maybe net database is a good alternative. It feels more lightweight, right? And still has like support for let's take a look, where was it? Like these databases, which is good enough, you know. It's a small framework, Tempest. I doubt anyone will have to use something else but this. So yeah, I'm just curious what it can offer us, right? What net database can offer that we can't do with PDO. So net database core is a database abstraction layer and provides core functionality. Is a wrapper around the PDO and provides core functionality. I don't know if that's correct English anyway. So let's just, I've never used net database before. So, but it looks very much like you're dealing with PDO, right? So it's some configuration here and you inject the database connection. I don't understand why people design it this way. Is it a database or is it a connection? Anyway, and you execute queries on it, right? And it seems a bit more polished than PDO. Definitely. But what else does it offer? Variable names, transactions. Okay. So from what I can tell, it's it's a nice wrapper around PDO, which I think might be useful. I'm mostly interested actually in like driver stuff and what each driver offers. Now we're on latte. There isn't. Oh, this is just a net documentation. Okay, that's like the framework name for all the components. Where's the database component? There isn't super much to it though. So at this point, I'm wondering, I understand that it's a convenient wrapper around PDO, but will it really add that much value? I think the biggest problem I was scared of was like managing syntax between like different database servers, DBMS, as I've learned. But that problem kind of goes away if we don't have a table builder for our migrations, which I think is fine. Yeah. Let's go to the comments here and see what you've written. I think we were here. But as you could see on Doctrine migrations, there are approaches to collect multiple SQLs. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, not returning one huge string. This way you can apply them one by one, I guess, which has pros and cons. Sure. Yeah, I mean that's an implementation detail worth considering. I believe Doctrine just had a new version of their DBAL library. Yeah, I saw that as well. And right, this is a good point as well. If you only include Doctrine, DBAL, and migrations, it's pretty small. You can leave the ORM. Ooh, what did I do? I pressed something here. You can leave the ORM aside for now. Yeah, I definitely. I guess what makes me hesitant of Doctrine is definitely the ORM part, because this is something I feel. This is the ORM part. Like models called in Laravel entities, or they used to be called entities in Doctrine. I don't know. It's been a while since I've used Doctrine. Like these are classes that are used so often throughout the framework, right? And the API, like the public API, the way models look should really be as frictionless as possible. It should feel as natural as possible. So just to give you an example, by the way, of models in Tempest, like this is a good example. Book, like right now it this is still up for change, right? But our book class, it's a class, it implements a model and uses a trait. It's a pattern we use in Tempest all the time, and it has these public properties. And I guess the main thing I don't really like about Doctrine entities is that these classes, they don't need to know about like the database part. For me, models, these are data objects, right? Their data can come from everywhere, basically. Their data can come from a JSON file, it can come from an API call, it can come from a database, it can come from wherever. So our models here, they don't, they should know nothing of our like database implementation details. Like relations, for example, it's a reference to another object, and it's Tempest's task to actually figure out how these two models are related, and how it should create queries if we want to load them from the database. The same with it has many relations, right? So a book has many chapters. Unfortunately, we cannot type in like typed arrays here, so we have to add a doc block for Tempest to know what kind of objects are in this array. But Tempest should figure out like how this relation works in comparison to, for example, Laravel, right? You have to write these chapters, which has many, and you have to return this has many to chapter class, something like this. This is what Laravel does. And Doctrine, I believe, uses attributes, right? Something like has many. And then, like I said, it's been a while since I've used Doctrine, so this is probably wrong, but this is what Doctrine does. But all of this is unnecessary if you have the type here. And the ironic part I find, especially in Laravel, is that you actually need external helper scripts to generate type information from this, so that you know that you have book chapters available as a property. While if you just start with that property and have your database layer figure the things out from there, to me that makes a lot more sense. Anyway, that's a little rant. It's one of the, like, someone asked at the very start of this stream, what is like the design philosophy of Tempest? Well, this is one of the core design features. Like it focuses, it approaches the problem not from the framework side, but from the end user side, and it should make sense for the end user, and the framework should adjust accordingly and should figure things out, instead of having like more configuration all over the place. I hope that makes sense. So, oh yeah, and by the way, just this base model, it has a bunch of actually database related methods, because this is very early code, because I should probably rename this to like database aware model or something like this. Anyway, that's still work in progress. I'm not saying you don't need convenience methods on these objects here. They can be there, like active record style. That's totally fine. But this is, in my mind, for me, this is what a model / entity class should look like, without any database aware configuration. And the cool thing is, like in Tempest, there's already this function. You have map to, so say you have a JSON JSON here representing a book. You can just do this, and you'll get a book instance. And if we're talking about database, it will be new query, like something selects star from book, or book where ID equals something like this, right? So it's all using that mapper data mapping under the hood, and it just maps data to a specific object. Anyway, that's a sidetrack here. So Kevin is saying an opinionated framework to a decent extent. It seems. I hope so. I hope it makes sense. Yeah, definitely. It's just what I would like to write, basically. No, and a couple of other people are also pitching in. So, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, our DBAL. Okay, so we might actually. I'm not really convinced about net. It's just a wrapper around PDO with small convenient additions. So I'm not sure whether it makes sense to include it. You mentioned Doctrine. It might make sense to use Doctrine actually. Because okay, let's actually look at our migrations here. I think I definitely want to add a layer on top of it that makes it even more convenient for end users. But managing migrations, executing multiple migrations. Okay, no, generating migrations. Ugh. You see, this I don't like. Okay, the Doctrine Migrations project offers additional functionality for versioning your database schema. Yeah, it makes it easy and safe to deploy changes to it in a way that can be reviewed and tested before being deployed to production. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Configuration. This is also a bit scary to me. Oh. Where's my stream? I hope I'm back. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if you saw that, but my let's actually wait for the comments here. Can you tell me if it's still okay? Because my StreamYard is doing a weird thing here. Okay. Let's actually check StreamYard here. Well, seems like I'm still live. Okay. Let's check YouTube. Sorry for the okay, we're still live. That's weird. Okay, cool. I'm sorry for that That's yeah. Okay, let's do it this way. Fine. So I can't see your comments anymore. Basically, that's a downside. So yeah, I was talking about configuration with Doctrine, and I'm a little scared of that because it feels like very symphony-like with lots of like lots of this basically. But if the framework can abstract all of that away, then it should be fine. Like this driver manager get connection. Anyway, so we might end up using Doctrine. Anyway, yeah, I'll have to read through through the docs to actually figure it out. I want to see my chat again, so just give me a second here. It's very weird. Okay. Cool. Okay, so I see the chat again. Nice. Okay, so Doctrine, maybe, and we get rid of the table builder. That's a given. Trezor is saying that they prefer active record. No, I understand. I mean, here's the thing. This Tempest framework, it might not be for everyone. It's not aimed for to replace anything like Laravel or Symfony. By the way, it's a micro framework still. It's for small projects. Just don't use Eloquent. I've mixed feelings on it, honestly. Eloquent. It's great. I mean, no one can deny that Eloquent. What Eloquent did is it is somehow a masterpiece, I would say, but it's also just a huge mess. I don't know, and it like you see a lot of parts in Eloquent from a time where static analysis wasn't a thing yet. While these days, I'm pretty sure that if Taylor would rewrite Eloquent from scratch today, it would look very differently. But that's not possible. That's, by the way, one of the things, like the fun things about Tempest as a framework. You don't need to take anything into account, right? It's just a clean whiteboard. We don't need to worry about backwards compatibility. Say in 2 years or something like this, and Tempest really gets somewhere. I don't know if that will happen. It doesn't matter. It's a fun project to work on. But if that happens, 2 years from now, it won't be able to innovate. Like, at least not at the same pace we're doing now. Because there will be people depending on our code. This is the like the irony, right? Uh, of making anything, not just a framework, but um, making anything open source, is that as soon as your project starts to pick up momentum, you have to take backwards compatibility into account. You cannot break everything every 2 years just because there's a new thing available. Like for example, new PHP syntax. Attributes are a good example, right? You cannot just add attributes and replace a bunch of framework code because it will negatively impact a lot of developers. So yeah, that's interesting. By creating something that's popular and that's used in open source, you automatically create a new void for something new to take your place, basically. At least from a pure code perspective, because like the things that Laravel and Symfony did with building a community and building a product and ecosystem around their framework, that's just genius, and that's nothing I can or want to compete with. That doesn't make any sense. I just want to build a nice framework that I can use for some of my projects, and maybe some other people as well. But yeah, I realize I'm still answering that question we started with at the very start of this stream about like Tempest's philosophy. I hope I'm answering it throughout this stream. So yeah, 2 action points for me. I'm gonna get rid of the table builder. Doesn't make sense. And I'm gonna consider using Doctrine. I don't know. I'm not sure yet if there's enough value there to do it or not, compared to just using PDO. I need to figure that out. I need to read the docs, and I can't do that while I'm streaming because I need to be silent and shut up for an hour and just read through it, and that wouldn't make a very interesting stream. So yeah, that's what I want to do. Let's before wrapping up here, I wanted to check here on like the daily chores, right? There's this collaborator, Aiden. I know I've known him for years now, and he worked on some of my on packages at Spatie as well, and he's in a completely opposite time zone. So right now, whenever people are sending pull requests, one of us can can merge them in. So it's just non-stop. There's this really good vibe here, and he wakes up early as well, so that's nice. But I still wanted to check like these small pull requests, because people are contributing, right? They're making like these validation rules, super useful. We need a lot of them. Let's pull these changes in, and let's actually show you. Oh, you can already see a validation rule here. Like validation in Tempest, these are attributes added to properties, and they are meant to validate that the incoming data before the property is set actually matches a specific rule that's more specific than just using PHP built-in PHP types, right? So min-max string, min-max string length. There are a bunch of new rules as well, like should be alpha, just alpha characters in a string, or alphanumeric characters, or it should be a Boolean-like value, 0 or false or real false, stuff like that. It should match the value should match a specific regex. Oh, that was a difficult sentence. Should be false, should be true. Yeah, these kind of things. These are pretty simple classes to implement, but they really help, and they improve the framework, and people are contributing them. I really appreciate that. So, and they just keep coming, and I need to fix the failing test here. That's my fault. Let's check the comments. I can't show them anymore because, well, maybe I can now. StreamYard. Let's check if it's back. Yeah. Let's do it like this. 1 second. And that means I can show your your comments again. I think Eloquent gets a bad rap. I think people there think there will be bliss with a repository pattern. No, no. I'm not saying that repository pattern is much better actually. I actually think that everything that's related to ORM stuff sucks in general. um, but it's something we need, right? You can't really work without it. So yeah, any moderately complex uses results in domain logic being embedded in process. I don't know if I understand that sentence. I'm sorry. Yet active record is criticized for being too coupled to implementation database concerns. And for what it's worth, if you look at the pure definition of active record, let's see here. It was named by Martin Fowler, of course. The active record pattern is an approach to accessing data in a database. A database table or view is wrapped in a class. Thus, an object instance is tied to a single row in the database table. After creation of an object, a new row is added on to the table on save. So we have objects. Each object represents a row in the database, and when you create an object, that row is created in the database as well. When you delete an object, not like unset it, but if you actually delete it, that it keeps in sync with your database, right? So to me, active record makes a lot of sense. And actually, you will see if you look closely at Tempest's model code, it's mostly active record. It looks a lot like Laravel models. So yeah. Hey, cool. The folks here who are submitting PRs are in the stream as well. Let's see here. While Laravel is written without static analysis in mind, there's so much magic and background glue code, like registering validate macro, yeah, that it makes it not navigable. I don't know how to pronounce that in IDE. Yeah, but there are tools for that, right? There's the Laravel IDE helper, Laravel IDE helper here, which is a script that generates metadata for your IDE so that they understand what Laravel is doing. There's Laravel IDEA, the Laravel IDEA plugin for PHP Storm in that case, which adds a lot of insights. It's kind of unfortunate that... No, it's not unfortunate. I totally understand how Laravel grew to be this, right? It was written in a time where IDEs weren't that big a thing, and static analysis definitely it didn't exist yet. People wrote PHP in a very different way, and when you think about it, if you look at Laravel that way, it was like revolutionary. The way it put the developer first, right? The developer experience first. The downside is that over the years, developers have gotten used to better static analysis and better tools around their code. And it means that, yeah, we now have a different standard, basically. We're not just writing, most of us aren't writing code in Sublime Text anymore, right? Like being a programmer, being a PHP programmer, better, has become so much more than writing text, writing PHP text and running it on a PHP server. It's like this whole tooling ecosystem around it. It's super nice. It's super valuable. It makes you more productive, basically. And you see remnants of that old age, where that wasn't the case in Laravel still. And that makes sense because, like I said, you can't just rewrite your framework every couple years, because that would kind of destroy your market presence. So yeah, anyway, people seem to agree here. Laravel IDE is the reason, number one, I'm using PHP Storm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't code without Laravel IDEA anymore. So yeah. Oh, Aiden is here. Brent, you rewrite your framework every couple of weeks. Yeah, but Yeah, that's true. But look, this is a price you can afford to pay if it's not popular, if no one uses it, right? It's just like I said, it's a blank slate. People don't care. No one's using this. At least I think no one is using this. Um, Tempest. Ooh. Let's go to packages. Uh, Tempest framework. No, I see it's downloaded almost 0 times. Okay, so that's okay. We're fine here. We can break stuff. It's not even in a there's no major version tag or anything, so it really doesn't matter. That's that's the benefit of yeah, of being in this phase. It's the honeymoon phase, right? You can keep fine tuning and it doesn't matter because people will use it. Yeah. Aiden. Yeah. I understand IDE support for navigating from route files to controllers, but if you can't go from PHP to PHP, then it's bad. Yeah, just side note, by the way, navigating from route files to controllers is, you don't need the Laravel IDEA plugin for that in PHP Storm, just FYI. But if you can't go from PHP to PHP, yeah, you know, in my opinion, this is, shall we go to the topic of facades while we're still here? So there in Laravel, right, there are pros and cons for facades, and people say, yeah, they just wrap the container, which is, they're totally right, So a class, what should we say, request facade, just wraps, like with call static, right? Call static wraps the container, so app, I think, request class, I don't know, and then calls the name with the I don't know if this is proper PHP code, probably not, but anyway, this is what facades do, right, in a more like reusable way. I totally get that you from like 10 years ago, if you don't have static analysis available, I totally get that you rather do this request. I think request is a super stupid example. Let's say mail. I get that you want to do this mail send instead of having to like construct and inject the mail providers, the dependency, and then hang on a second. Let's actually write PHP code here. Construct mail. Let's see. Oh yeah. This is actually a good example. So you had to do private mail, like back in the very old days, right? Where you didn't have, you didn't even have this. Anyway, it would be it would be a total mess, right? You can already see me struggle here because this is a mess. This used to be a mess 10, 12 years ago. I think Laravel exists for 11 years now. Anyway, but these days, just do like private mail injected. The container is able to resolve it because of the type that's available there. And then you can use it. Oh, look at that. That's AI doing work for me. Nice. You can use it like this instead of doing this. The upside is, okay, this is still shorter, right? But the upside is that you have proper static analysis and insights here without having to rely on plugins to actually figure out how your code works. So, like I said, I totally understand why Laravel used to have facades and why they started with it, because it was just much more convenient. But now PHP and its ecosystem have evolved to where, in my opinion at least, there are more convenient ways to handle all of this without having to rely on these magic methods here. I think the additional problem is that that some people, like if you're, and I have this problem as well. Everyone has this problem, not just some people. Like if you're used to a certain way of doing things, it's difficult to do things another way around, even when people tell you it's better. I have the same problem with, for example, PHP unit and Pest. I keep using PHP unit. I've done like a couple of streams with Nuno here on the channel as well, or one stream and a couple of videos with Nuno about Pest. At my previous job at Spatie, I actually co-wrote together a book about PHP unit and Pest together with my colleague Freek back then. The thing is, like, it's just, Pest has super cool features that aren't available in PHP unit. I know that. But it's just, it takes, like, in my mind, it takes effort to actually unlearn something and relearn something else. And I think that's the big barrier here with facades as well. Kevin is here just to listen to my commentary. I do wonder, like, how many people are just have this tab open somewhere and just don't watch what I'm writing here. So Maxime is saying the point is PHP is highly polymorphic and sometimes IDE cannot predict what is happening. In these days, like, I don't really agree with that statement anymore, because like static analysis, not just IDEs, but static analysis in general, can understand super much. Like, if you dive into that, it's yeah. Actually, if you want to like learn more about it, it's road to php.com. Go to there, and I have this what's static. Go to this URL, and I have this 10-day newsletter series that gets you started with static analysis. This is my newsletter thing, right? So anyway, that might be interesting. If you want to learn about like what static analysis can do for you, that's a good way. And I'm not keeping your email address afterwards, so don't worry about it. Ryan is here as well. Pointless arguing. Use whatever works best for you. So, thank you, Ryan. I was talking rather about, oh, maybe I shouldn't then continue arguing. Anyway, good. Let's see. Based on the last couple of streams, I'm guessing it's not, yeah, I don't know what the context of this anymore, Aiden, I'm sorry. Okay, we're through the comments. Okay, this stream got went a little differently than I imagined, but that's totally fine. We did manage to make a couple of decisions here. Oh, by the way, Aiden, I don't know if you were here when we discussed it. We're gonna get rid of the table builder and switch to SQL. It's gonna be so much better and so much easier. And we might consider using Doctrine, although if we get rid of this table builder stuff, I don't know if we need Doctrine anymore, because there's not much to gain from using a database abstraction layer then. But that's something I need to figure out and read the Doctrine documentations off stream. Okay. Oh no, subscribing to the static newsletter results in a 404. Okay, then it doesn't work anymore. I'm sorry for that. I should have written it in Tempest. It's a it's a PHP script. Anyway, what have you done? Aiden says, yeah. This is why you just rewind to the start of the stream and you'll figure it out. Okay, folks, I'm gonna end the stream here. It was a bit of a weird one, but thanks for sticking with me here and for sharing your thoughts on like framework design in general. Let's say it like that. I appreciate it. It was fun, and I think we came to a couple of good conclusions here, and I mostly appreciate that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Go check out Tempest if you want to contribute or just take a look. The link is in the description. Leave a like on this video as well if you continue and finish watching it. And I hope to see you in the next one. So take care. Bye-bye.